everyone.
Hello.
Hi. I had to start the episode because we,
as is custom.
kept fucking around.
Right. This recording has been going for 40 minutes.
Yeah,
We
right.
haven't started yet.
There was a lot to discuss.
Yeah,
right.
my instinct would be like, oh, Dave is making a joke, like exaggerating. But also, I factually know that is not true.
We are at 38 minutes and 54 seconds.
And none of it is podcast.
No.
Not a moment of it.
I would argue this isn't podcast.
Well, it depends on the vibe. And today I say that this is indeed the vibe of Reckless Attack, a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons actual play podcast. I am, as always, your GM, Nathan. Hello, dear players around the table. Could you please remind all the listeners at home who has been just absolutely faffing about for the last 38 minutes or so, starting with the person to my right.
Hi, everyone. My name is Steve, and I am playing Selv Asterlin, the Dragonborn monk. And today, only Selv Asterlin, the Dragonborn monk, will be played by me since we have completed the Regency arc. And to my right...
I did not know where you were going with that.
Hi, everyone. I'm David, and I play Kaskrin Brightmane, the Dwarven Warlock. And my intrusive thought for today was, what if we all just did our intros at the same time? And see how that worked out.
You, as the editor, have fun with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, and, you can do that in post, too.
That's true.
We're getting
That's true.
crisp audio now. Actually, no, it would be even muddier somehow if we just overlapped it over one another, which is kind of fun in a way.
And to my right.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jonathan, and I play Checkers, the Grung Druid, and his trusty frog pals, Mango and Junior. And Checkers is desperately searching the Red City of Agmar for his dear friend, Wendershins, who has not been seen since we left the restricted section, but is out there somewhere. He
Must
knows.
be. Must
He feels in his heart of hearts.
He's cold and alone and
Right.
scared.
And he needs my help, Nathan. Why won't you tell me where he is?
I would say of species in the nearby area, probably in the top 10 least predated would be whatever the fuck Wendershins is.
Yeah.
Like weird magical book bird.
Right.
Book warbird.
Yeah, who does murders, genetically speaking.
Stares down.
He's a Boyd.
Yeah, right.
There was a dragon skeleton in the middle of Agmar, and Wendershins is still the apex predator here.
Right, correct. He was the one actually who took down that dragon back in the day.
Mhm. And to my right.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sophie, and I play Valeska Carter, the human Astric cleric of the Arcana domain. And Val has a new buddy who's not really the life of the party.
Who's not, I would say, somehow is less approachable than Wendershins is.
Yes,
as far as new buddy
absolutely.
rankings
Everyone's getting
goes.
new buddies today.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's weird because Val now has 2 permanent figures in her life.
Yeah.
One awake and one while sleeping.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Yep.
I've realized the character choices I've made too late.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
And during the eclipse is the only time they can talk to
Yeah.
each other.
That is right. We are indeed. Well, I guess you sort of have always been in the Red City of Agmar, but also like extremely not in the Red City of Agmar the last few dozen episodes, in that you are finally fully emerged and some amount of safe from the restricted section. And you have successfully gotten all the books that you were tasked to go get Lorana Moonglove's services to repair the member of the Bones who have become untethered. But all of that is still like a week plus off. And so I think the best place to start is a couple days into your magical quarantine.
Oh no, it's been extended past 24 hours?
It's been, it was at least 48 hours coming out. Specifically, all throughout the last couple of days, members of the Agmar SVU, as well as several other kind of prominent friends of the guild, especially magical friends of the guild, have been stopping by and doing full-on, we won't say guarding of the guild hall per se, more just like they're there to see what happens and to be available should there be needs of any sort. So you've had to spend a couple days in the guild hall. And for the most part, no ill effects are presenting themselves. You were well taken care of by the city guard. Berga came with all of those supplies to kind of, even after the large feast, you had more than enough food and supplies for the next couple days. At one point, you even got a delivery from the library with additional kind of fun reading books as a show of gratitude towards your help. And
50 things to do while you're magically quarantined.
Right, yeah, exactly. A couple, whatever the Agmar equivalent of charades are, there's a book, a how-to book there. And now, finally, the doors are reopened. It has maybe been a cramped couple days because everyone in the guild was there.
Yeah.
Etrus was there. Hody was there. Taroth was extremely there. And it was just, you were having a nice time, but I would imagine on, day 3, it is nice to finally, they finally take down the caution tape and the various Geiger counters that they've put up and let you guys get your free reign around the city once more.
Hey everyone, I'm starting a Houses and Humans campaign.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
Mostly for Jonathan.
Yes.
1, how did they keep Checkers in?
Yeah.
And a follow-up question, how many beans did Checkers go through of that bag of beans during the quarantine time?
Yeah. Oh.
Because at hour 2, I'm assuming he got
big
2
time,
bored
big time,
and
big
was
time.
like, "We're just gonna friggin' see how this goes."
Correct.
Beans.
I will say,
Uh-huh,
if there was a singular time in the city of Agmar for strange magical things to go wrong or to stop a fairly magical, powerful individual from leaving somewhere, this was the time. Because it was like multiple SVU members who are trained to deal with it. And like the likes of like Azan got hired for a day, like closed the shop for a couple hours to watch you guys. And Granak was there for a good stretch. And even both of the Calvettas were kind of kicking around, Namgar, etc. So like they didn't pull in another guild to watch, but it was like whatever the like step below that was in terms of surveillance and containment.
So the answer to your second question of how many beans did Checkers go through, the answer is 1. 1 bean, because he only got 1 bean off before it got confiscated.
Being off is a very good verb.
Wow.
Nathan, I want to know, what did the bean do? It's very important to me.
It would have happened outside. It was sitting in the courtyard.
It was the only bean he got to use before he lost the bag of beans privileges.
I'm actually surprised that Checkers wasn't just sedated for the whole film.
Right.
No, he was after that.
Yeah, they may have had to.
Checkers, you have this special pie. This one's for you.
It
Yeah,
was
right.
just everyone used all their spell slots on sleep just over and over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Could you roll me a D8?
That is an 8.
We end up with a
Base.
colossal ancient pyramid in the house.
Sophie, am going to request that if a pyramid was supposed to fall on us, that it does not happen.
No.
I would like the guild hall to survive this and us to survive this.
Or we now have a pyramid for a guild hall.
No.
Everyone wins.
Yeah.
Except for us.
Yeah, right.
So where are you throwing it from? What's the kind of like, just briefly, what's the energy of Checkers in this act of defiance, desperation, whatever it is?
Yeah, so I'll agree. Like 15 minutes into the quarantine, he's like, I gotta get out of here. So he goes to the backyard, looks around to see if anyone has followed him, and just like sneaks a bean into the ground next to the hot spring.
Ooh, I really wish that you hadn't described it like that. For a couple of reasons.
Okay.
The first reason being you looked around to see if anyone was close by to stop you, and there were several someones who were within, you certainly had the time to plant it, but like you were probably doing it like making full eye contact with someone.
Yep, for
Just
sure.
like Skyrim stealthing right in front of someone.
Yeah.
Basically. And the second problem with that is that you plant it, right? And then just multiple people kind of converge on you all at once and you're very respectful, but are also very firm of like, hey, you have to go back in. And they're all wearing like arcane hazmat suits, essentially. And as they grab you, you kind of just gently kind of grab your shoulders and kind of push you back, assuming that there's no like...
Someone takes the bag of beans away. Yeah.
Someone takes the bag of beans. And maybe the reason that you go along so quietly is because nothing happens.
Oh, man.
And, everyone is just like shocked for a minute, right? And everyone's like, oh my God, what's happening? What's he about to do? I heard about this in the library council.
You planted the one lima bean in the bag of beans.
And just as you're getting dragged away, the ground starts to bubble and churn. And for a moment, the kind of patch of dirt that you buried it under seems to get a little bit wetter and begins to bulge until a huge geyser
Nice.
erupts 30 feet into the air. And I assume Checkers is out loud saying, nice,
yeah, go.
But unfortunately, that's when the smell hits you.
Oh.
Because the geyser that erupted, it is a huge spout of just vinegar.
Oh.
Just explodes upwards and outwards and into the hot springs.
The hot springs.
And all of you can, like, this is a loud sound. It is not quite, it's not like Old Faithful level, but it's like a full-on mini geyser that just erupts through the ground, and you all smell it immediately. It is the, just dankiest, horrible, acidic vinegar flavors.
And it's that for 3 days.
Yeah, this is how we have to spend the rest of our quarantine.
Unfortunately, it's only for... No, fuck you. It's max rounds. But it's for like a full minute and a half that this thing is just exploding. And it gets to the point where you guys are hearing outside different people being like, oh my gosh, do we know what this is? Are we gonna have to do something about this? And just everything for the entirety of the next couple days until near the end there's a little bit of blessed rain that washes it just enough away. Smells like just vinegar. The grass around the geyser is dead.
Cascarin is just walking around with just napkins stuffed into his nose. Immediately just ugh, we're not doing this.
It's horrible.
I'm sorry.
So I'm glad you asked. Thank you.
I'm not.
Good point.
So I also want to answer Sophie's first question in that what does Checkers do for the entire week while he's stuck inside? And
so 2 days.
I love how it's progressively gotten longer.
Yeah. For an entire
3
month.
days,
Yeah.
a week.
a week. Okay.
That's because the guild put him on house arrest
Yeah, right.
for doing this, where it's no, you have to keep in quarantine longer. Something could have interacted with the beans. We just don't know. You have to stay here, Checkers.
He is going to hang out with Taroth and just crawl around the vents in the guild hall all over the place. So every so often you just hear a and then just crawling feet away. But for 3 days. Also.
Yeah, it's a tough
Absolutely
for
terrifying.
everybody.
Wow, I hate this quarantine.
I'm realizing how bad it actually is for Val. Again, based on secrets,
Things that we'll get into.
She might lose her mind.
Yeah, remember this, listener, this exact moment in a couple minutes here in the podcast. But after all of the hell that is other people for the couple of days, as much as you, gosh darn it, really care about each other, getting some personal time in space is pretty good too. And vinegar is a lot.
Yeah.
You guys are kind of finally able to exit your guild hall once more. So you kind of have a week-ish to do as you will. What's a notable thing, I guess, that you do in that week? I'm assuming you're, kind of doing the usual provisioning. You're doing the usual rounds around the city. You are kind of taking care of your chores, your usual researches, whatever. But yeah, what's an interesting thing that happens?
So 3 days into the quarantine, we're finally able to get outside and get away from each other. And for Kaskrin, this is actually a special day because he has a prearranged meeting with Vina Calvetta. He sent off the report of the restricted section to her, and with it was a request for a meeting. Kaskrin walks across the city of Agmar to get to the Ruby Citadel.
Yes. The Ruby Citadel, a place in the city that we have not really, I think we've been on the outskirts of, but have not gone inside, I don't think.
Checkers climb it? Did he try to?
I think he wanted to. That was like one of the big landmarks he wanted to try to climb, but I don't think he ever got to that point yet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Kaskrin walks past the guards. They're expecting him, and makes his way to Vina's office.
As you walk through this essentially castle, you maybe just as much, if not more than some of the other places in the city, really feel the strict opulence of the Pentarchy. You get the impression that not a lot has changed in these halls. They've probably swapped out a few tapestries and taken out some of the more direct statues and such, but this is a beautifully constructed place. And Vina has an incredible office that actually oversees the entire city. You find her just sitting at her desk, which is also beautiful, ornate. It's no desk of doing, but is just as stately as you would imagine. Again, it might actually be left here from the original founders of the city. As you approach, a guard outside her door notices you and just kind of clocks you and knocks on the door. You hear from within her calling for you to enter.
Kaskrin makes his way into the office and takes a moment to take it in before bringing his hand to his chest in a respectful salute. He sees Vina paging through some of the details of the report that was sent earlier, and Kaskrin says, "Vina, thank you for taking the time to meet with me. I wanted to start by formally apologizing for my behavior after we had exited the restricted section. I got carried away, and I did not mean any disrespect by my words, by my actions. I wanted to make sure you understood that I didn't mean what I said."
Before you get kind of too much farther, she, with your report just kind of laid out in front of her and tons of other paperwork in her, otherwise pretty organized desk, she just raises a hand and she says, "Let's put it this way. I've been around a lot of guilders in this line of work. Going on adventures plays into a lot of eccentricities that I've become very accustomed to. This is a very good report, actually."
Thank you. Valeska helped me compile it, and I think that we make a good team.
Very thorough, regardless. Were you here just to apologize?
I wanted to apologize, but I also wanted to assure you, Vina, that we are doing our best. It's just that there's so much information that we've learned over the past few weeks. We're trying our best to figure out how all of this pieces together for the good of the Red City. And it's a lot.
She furrows her brow a little bit and looks at you, and she says, "Do you or the rest of your guild feel your efforts are inadequate?"
I can't speak for everyone, but some part of me does feel that way. I think that, yes, we did our best, but we could have always done more. We could have always done better. Maybe there was a way we could have saved the fortunate.
At this point, she'd been at almost attention, very formal, very Vina Calvetta-y. And as you've said all of this, it's kind of unwound her a little bit, and she looks at you with a little bit of recognition and a little bit of understanding. Master Brightmane, I have been sending your reports and your guild's reports to the other city guards in the area. This side of the continent knows what we know, and we wouldn't know those things if it weren't for the Golden Tree Guild. Your actions have already exceeded the bounds of what anyone in charge of the Red Guard could expect out of a guild. I've read your files. You were a town guardsman, right?
Proudly, yes, for most of my career.
Well, I've seen a lot of us get bogged down in the little things. And when I say little things, what I mean are the little failures, or the little hardships that are very real and very impactful. But they also do their damnedest to ensure that we do not see all the good that we have done. You and the rest of your guild have done a lot of good for this city. I truly apologize on behalf of myself and the city if we have not done a good enough job convincing you of that.
Kaskrin takes a moment and lets Vina's words sink in a little bit. He feels his chest puff up a little bit. He kind of stands up a little bit straighter and feels a little more proud of himself. Thank you for your kind words, Vina. It means a lot coming from you, coming from someone I see as a commanding officer with your years of experience.
Kaskrin, I have not witnessed you all that often, but from everything I understand, you are a very formidable person on the battlefield and off. You strike me as very interesting, because many guilders focus on how grand they are, how strong they've become, how big of a threat they're able to both be and overcome, what sort of things they're able to learn and discover. You are a guardsman. You remain a guardsman. And I find that an interesting balance.
Kaskrin has a thoughtful look on his face. He says, I never thought of it like that. I've been trying to do my best here in the Red City and before in Lotros. I've been trying to do my best for the people. Being able to be there for others is what's most important to me. More than power, more than glory. But having been an adventurer these past few months has taught me I can be so much more. I just don't know how to get there.
Frankly, guilders make me nervous. I appreciate them for the services they offer. I have even come to have good relationships with several, including your predecessors at the Golden Tree. But I often find them to be, at best, wild cards, who, even if they are doing heroic things, are not always keeping the service of others in mind as they do it. Kaskrin, I will tell you, I also believe that you can do more. I would be happy to be a resource to you, to discover what that might look like.
Kaskrin takes a minute to realize what Vina has offered and can't help the smile on his face. That would be amazing. That would be so generous of you, Vina. I've taken up enough of your time, though, for now, of course. But maybe we could meet again in the future.
Before you go, allow this to be my first piece of wisdom. When you are a guard and you fail, bad things happen. Life-changing things happen to the people that you are sworn to protect. And I know you know that. But something I have had to learn, both as guard captain and as a member of a notable family, as you bear more of these responsibilities, your job is going to be figuring out how to deal with those tougher parts while holding on to the town guardsmen. And that's the journey everyone has to figure out. I hope you get to figure that out sooner rather than later.
Kaskrin nods and says, "Thank you. I'll think on that." He notices Vina return to her papers and takes that as a sign of dismissal and exits the Ruby Citadel. His thoughts are taking him to what's been happening the past couple of weeks, the adventures that he's had, but also strangely calm after talking with Vina. Kaskrin finds himself just wandering the Red City of Agmar for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the bazaar, the lake, the museums, the libraries, and really taking the city in again as his city, as his home.
Self, where does Kavos Pyrelighter, the red dragonborn brawler of the Verdant Wave Adventuring Guild, find you on whatever lovely or not so lovely day here in the Red City of Agmar?
So Selv is going to work out some stiffness in his joints and some kinks in his muscles, and goes over to the training grounds of the city guard and kind of goes into the sparring area to do some practicing and stretching and work on his forms.
I'm just imagining the sparring grounds of the Red City of Agmar is like kind of the vibe of those chess tables at like a public park.
Oh, yeah.
Where like most people are there to like have a fun, casual game, maybe learn something. And then there's like a couple people who take it too seriously.
And there's always one or two people that are just sitting at the sparring area waiting for a challenger to come in so that they could do the spar and then beat that person and then go on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are a couple of people who have like, this is my first day here. I've never fought before. You want to make a bet?
Yeah.
So you are sparring with just kind of a lot of good-natured people. You're probably even recognizing a few people from
sure.
around the city at this point. Maybe a few stopped by your guys' self-defense classes at the guild hall. Probably a lot of people who are taking part in these are a little bit more advanced, at least the people that Selv would be fighting against. And, you know, it's pretty obvious that Selv is one of the best people in the city, if not maybe the best person in the city.
At least unarmed.
Right.
I'm sure if he picked up a long sword, it would not go as well.
Right. And as your, kind of rocky toweling off after a fight. And, someone's giving you a cool sports beverage to recover.
Rixonade?
Yeah. Well, it'd be Agmarade.
Agmarade.
It only comes in red.
Right.
You hear a
I
voice.
hate that flavor. Yeah.
You hear a voice call out over the crowd. And it says, Asterlin.
Recognizing the voice, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. Not many people talk like Dragonborns in the Red City of Agmar.
Right. Self will turn around and just say,
Kavos, nice to see you again.
and then with a slight eye roll.
Kavos doesn't notice it. You see the exceptionally buff Dragonborn is also wearing a comfortable kind of workout outfit. And so he's just kind of wearing we'll call it medieval track jacket. And he is wearing...
With his chest scales showing?
Oh, yeah, big time. He has a headband on and everything. And he says, "Get back in the ring."
So Selv will take a quick look around. Upon hearing that, what are the other folks in the area doing?
They would really love to see you two beat the shit out of each other. So reacting accordingly.
This is their main event.
Yeah, everyone's like, fucking finally. We've been waiting for months for this to happen. They both show up, but never on the same day.
So Selv gestures for them to cue his theme music. And
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but now you have to tell me what it is.
It's just one guy
Selv's-
singing.
Yeah.
Selv's walkout song is.
There's a song called Kick Some Ass that, while Selv does not generally project that vibe, that is the vibe as he kind of walks into the ring. Selv will nod and then say,
Very well. This will be a wonderful cap to the day.
and will enter the ring.
Instead of joining you, he says, "Do you know the style of the fifth heat?" And you would. It is like kind of a semi-choreographed martial arts sequence that is pretty advanced, but it's kind of one of those where you would do it for a visiting dignitary kind of deal. And it's kind of an old throwback kind of deal.
Yes, I am indeed.
He strikes one kind of pose, essentially inviting you to take part in this choreographed fight together.
Then Selv will take the appropriate counter pose to what he has done, and as the initiator, wait for Kavos to perform the first maneuver so that Selv can continue.
As is the form. He does so, and you guys start a pretty rhythmic, very flowing combat. As you guys kind of move through this sequence, and it's a couple minutes long, nothing too crazy. "I have heard your guild has gone on a great many adventures."
We have been keeping busy, it is true.
"And I see that you have survived these adventures, which to me certainly means either that you have become very adept at fighting or adept at running away."
Yes, as far as anybody knows, I have survived all of those encounters.
He starts to do a punch that was not a part of the regular move, but then remembers, I can't just punch this person right now. And he says, "Well, we shall see. Every 5 years at my monastery, we hold a tournament called the Pyre Festival."
I have heard of this tournament. It's the opposite ears of Burning Mortal.
This year, my monastery is the host. And unfortunately, the Red City is filled with ill-equipped combatants, he says, looking around at all the people who have come to the fun little organized fight club.
I'm sure there are many worthy combatants within the city, but are you using this as a form of invitation?
There are no invitations. There is only notice. There is no date, only a location. You are told 1 week prior, and it is the obligation of individuals such as myself to ensure those who would not make a full mockery of the tournament and its long tradition are made aware. Prepare yourself, Asterlin, for when the bell rings, all interested must arrive.
Selv is going to stay quiet until the form is complete. Upon the turn and the bow to each other, Selv will stand up and say,
It will be my honor to join you at the tournament.
He gives the biggest, wolfiest grin that he can muster and bows to you at the end of the sequence. As you guys finish the forms, and as he completes his bow, he just turns and leaves the sparring area. A few seconds later, after he's clearly out of earshot, a lot of people saying, God, that guy sucks.
I have a question. Was everyone like super impressed by this form, or like, man, they're not even really fighting?
It was complicated. Well, it's one of those where it's like they really wanted to actually see them truly destroy one another.
I'm guessing it's more acrobatic and not like the punches, are meant to miss.
Yeah,
right.
but
I know what the form is,
no,
but like, are people disappointed they didn't get a real UFC death match?
What I'm picturing is disappointment that it wasn't an actual fight, but still impressed at the acrobatic.
Right. Yeah, because
Yeah.
these are all people who like have some amount of kind of understanding and training of combat. Like it's not just random people. Well, there's probably some people who are just like in a weird field, like 50 feet away, being like, yeah, punch him better. But these people they all get it and respect the skill that it took to do it, even if that's not what they signed up for, so to speak.
Okay.
So after that's over, I will let Kavos make his grand exit and then turn to the folks who had some side chatter and say,
You don't have to tell me twice.
Right. It's just, I don't know why he's so aggressive all the time. We're just having a nice time. He's always here on Thursdays and it's the worst. I don't even want to come on Thursdays anymore.
I'm sure in his own way, he means to be insulting.
That's exactly what he says every time.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by A Foul Light Shines, a new free serial novel based on a D&D campaign. The Empire of Fire and Water has known 20 golden years of peace since the end of Agenion's War, a peace which is now in peril. When a ragtag group of friends intervene in a grotesque monster attack, they're too late to save a wounded man who leaves them with an encrypted journal and the words, "Trust no one, Tyir." Can the gang find Tyir, escape the claws of more strange monsters, and uncover the lurking threat to the Empire before it's too late? This story features themes of found family and strength in diversity, and is available for free on Campfire and Royal Road. A Foul Light Shines. Come for the fantasy. Stay for the cheese-obsessed goblin gunslinger. Dark Dice is a critically acclaimed actual play podcast brought to you by Fool and Scholar Productions. With over 20 awards in sound design, Dark Dice brings its horror-themed campaigns to life with snappy combats, terrifying monsters, and tons of original music. Each episode is only 45 minutes long and features an all-star cast of seasoned role players and first-time players alike, including folks you might recognize, like Jeff Goldblum, Lily Pichu, and Jasper William Cartwright. Start with Season 1 and follow the adventurers on their quest to investigate a doppelganger, Or jump into Season 2 and listen to a news story about a terrible, corrupting sound that infects all who hear it. Dark Dice is available for free however you listen to podcasts or at darkdice.com. So ask yourself, do you seek him? Hey, Sophie, how's Val doing? You know, it's been several days since you got out of the restricted section. It's been a couple days since you've gotten out of quarantine. How's Val holding up?
Val is uncharacteristically cranky. Part of it is quarantine. And unfortunately, she found out she picked a room that's really the main thoroughfare of vents in the guild. So it's a lot of pitter-patter of checkers and Taroth feet.
And everyone is also like, every vent is closed, every window is closed because of the vinegar smell and also because of Taroth and checkers. So like it's the most stagnant, horrible indoor air imaginable. None of it is good. It smells, God bless her, but boy, it smells like donkey in here. Sorry, Hody.
Yeah, it's not been good. And, you know, she really tried to settle in that first night, really relax, and then realized her second imaginary friend is a strong word, doesn't go away ever.
No.
And she also comes to realize she doesn't sleep.
At first, you know, there's a lot of reasons, and I'm sure Val has gone through many of them, try to figure that out. I'd imagine, you know, kind of the first night where you had difficulty falling asleep was just kind of that like post-adventure adrenaline or, oh my gosh, there's a lot happening. And also, there's this fucking spectral book person, the Liber Morte, just here in my room existing. And
All
so,
the time.
of course, I'm going to be a little on edge. I'm not going to sleep great. But then it happens a second night, and it's somehow even less sleep than you got the first night. And you feel kind of bad both days, but not fully bad. But again, adrenaline's kind of a weird thing. And then like the third night happens, and you're just awake. You don't even feel comfortable closing your eyes, let alone get anywhere near sleep.
Yeah, and I feel that as she's kind of gone through these couple of days, when the library dropped off their package of fun books, Val had Andromeda send a few books on insomnia and its causes. And as she's poring over these books, she hears a low chuckle from over her shoulder. And the Liber Morte chimes in.
You're not losing sleep for anything biological or psychological, if that's what you were wondering.
Val takes a pause because she's not used to somebody being over her shoulder and having someone constantly there when she's awake. So she takes like kind of a steadying breath and says, I have been wondering for 3 days.
It's nice to be talked to. I have a great many answers. And there's like a lot of sass from this book. Like, and
We're
he's saying
both
it.
sassy
He's
with each
saying
other.
it with a little, like, the Liber Morte is a very stoic book. There's a little stank on that when he talks to you.
I also feel this is the first teenager he's been
For
bound
sure.
to.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And let's remember, Val is 18 years old.
For sure.
This
For
is her
sure.
gap year.
Yep.
Yeah, he really thought he was getting into something very different than these days of being not super talked to or engaged with. Our partnership offers a great many things, you see. Knowledge, certainly, and power as well, should you care to engage with either of those things. But certain other things. Some would say one of the greatest gifts of all. Time. You don't need to sleep, should you not choose to.
Thank you for that information. Val is torn between the sass
Mm-hmm.
and having more time to read.
Mm-hmm. It's complex.
And I feel like the Libra Morte can see that playing out on her face.
Big time. It might not be able to read your mind, but it knows.
Yeah.
It knows for sure. I urge you to reconsider what I know that you and your group are planning to do. I do not wish to go with the sorceress Lorana. It is not within my power to do anything about it. And I say that in the interest of being transparent. But the things that I can offer you, the things that we can be, are very rich in possibility.
Val sits in thought for a moment and eyes the stack of books on her desk in her room with the Libra Morte on top. And just thinking about what the Libra Morte says and feeling the temptation, she stands up, says, "All right," and grabs the pile of books and starts marching out the door.
And, of course, the semi-corporeal form of the Libra Morte walks with infuriating calm at perfect pace to your furious stomping out the door.
As Val goes downstairs, I assume Berga is on Val's route out the door.
Well, is it in the morning? Is it at night?
Ooh.
So it could be just in the middle of the night. And you just finally got so frustrated that you were like, I'm cracking open these insomnia books. I'll be able to figure it out by morning.
Let's say it's early morning.
Mm-hmm.
Because she is on her way to the library.
Mm-hmm.
So, ideally, she, tells someone where she's going with all of the books they spent so much time and resources getting. But also, she kind of wants Berger to come with her.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would imagine Selv is up and at 'em, so you could officially tell a fellow, like an adventurer guilder, that you are leaving with the books. And Berger would just, be confused, a little concerned in that you have been increasingly erratic, but in just a grumpy teenager way over the last couple days. But it's like, oh, yeah, the library. Yeah, sounds good. This early in some more. It's open? Okay, yeah, sure.
I'm now second guessing if I should bring Berger.
It's too late. It's canon. There's only 2 people who are awake at this point, so she's coming with.
Okay, well, I will say to Selv and Berga, I am headed to the library with all the books. I am planning to study them more. I don't know exactly what that entails, but one of them is sentient, and then I feel the need for more people.
Didn't we just get them out? You know what? Never mind. Go to the library. You can send us a message if you need anything.
I don't know what type of spells I'll have after this.
I think she'll be okay. Burgess is whispering, oh, let me get my bag. Yeah, I will watch herself. I think she's okay.
Very good.
I've seen her go out to the library much earlier than this. If I'm being honest, I'll watch. It'll be okay.
Is Val the kind of person who has like a tent outside the library and like has to be first in for no reason?
It's
Like
not even, but she doesn't need a tent for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
She just
right.
that's just the natural rhythm of the day. Is that no one other than maybe the workers, and you're not sure. Maybe Andromeda lives at the library. It's not entirely sure. She seems to always be there
Mhm.
when you're there. But it is bright and early, and wouldn't you know it, the Agmar Public Library is there to serve its constituents.
Mm-hmm. Feel like Val, on finding out the library hours, adjusted her circadian rhythm to
Yeah, perfect. So, where do you tuck yourself away into the library to do the studying?
I feel that Val got the like worker tour. Like you get hired at the library and this is a tour you get. She got that level of tour from Andromeda. And Val checks out one of the study rooms that is also kind of like a cell because of what could happen with magical books.
Yeah, that seems
like they take them
reasonable.
out of the restricted section and it's like you can only read these books here.
Yeah, probably even with some of the ones that aren't in the restricted section,
Yeah.
they probably have a vault that you can just be like, oh yeah, oh, can I interest you? Oh, I see you're in study room 4. We actually need you to read that book in vault 2.
Yeah. And we'll kind of give Andromeda like the rundown of I'm gonna start reading the Liber Morte in depth.
Well, if there's anyone who I would trust to do it here in the library where I work, it'd be you, Val.
Sorry to bring this news to you so early. I brought Berka as backup.
They kind of nod at each other and both exchange looks as you kind of like turn and walk away towards the vault.
Mhm.
They're just like, is she okay? I think she's okay. Don't worry. It'll be fine. I'll watch her. We're going to in the vault, etc.
Mm-hmm. Val will spend at least the full day reading / talking to the Liber Morte. She'll give Berga a heads up that this is a sentient book who appears in physical form to me. So it's not that
Oh.
weird for Berga.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Sure.
She'll also explain the reason she's been cranky lately is he's here all the time and I don't sleep anymore.
She just like keeps like looking at your eyes and then looking over your shoulder where you keep pointing to nothing and then looking back at you. Yeah. Sounds frustrating. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me know if I can help. I have my stack of romance book recommendations from Kaskrin, and I'll be
I didn't give you those. What are you talking about, Berga?
the recommendations, not the actual books.
Mhm.
And
She's got the whole Spice series.
yeah, exactly. And she says, so whatever you need, I will be here.
Thank you, Berga. It's really more to just, incapacitate me if you feel the need.
I can do that.
Because if anyone's going to incapacitate Val with 0 questions in a way that won't permanently maim her, it's Berga. Checkers would do it, but maiming might be involved.
Yeah. But he'd have too much fun with it.
Hours go by. You spend the whole day. And Berga's happy to be there. She checks on you every once in a while. She brings you snacks. She makes sure, at one point she checks your pulse just to be sure.
Yeah.
And you find your eyes resting on a passage. Or maybe the better way to say it is that the Liber Morte recognizes, in maybe a way that you didn't, that you've been staring at a page or a section of the book for a segment of time. This entity just leans over your shoulder, also looks at what you're looking at, and runs a finger over the page, just kind of downward. And it says, oh yes, that is something that we could do before she arrives, if you're interested.
Val takes her eyes off the page and makes direct eye contact with the Liber Morte. In her face, he sees curiosity.
So for Checkers, it's a couple days after the end of the quarantine, and he is finally free. He
Mhm.
finally has the option to be out and about in the city. But what ends up happening is that Val.
Roll for initiative.
You don't know. I got a note card
Yeah.
of things now.
Yeah. As you're at the desk of doing, and I'm imagining this is like maybe the third day of the sleepless night, and you've been cranky, and it's really shown in the atmosphere of the guild.
Mm-hmm.
You hear a polite knock on the door. And at first you're like, oh, it's Kaskarin
Yeah,
herself.
Berga must be outside. Let me think of everyone I know who
It's
isn't
not
Checkers.
Selv because the knock would have been a lot higher, so it's got to be one of the shorter companions.
But you hear a small voice coming from outside the door. Val! Val! You in there?
Hey, Checkers. Val, very confused because Checkers never knocks.
No, right. He would
Already thrown off guard.
Usually he would be, if he knocked, it would be on accident because he hit his knee while crawling through a vent.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
Right.
the
He
only
always
knock
just, like,
he would get.
Kicks the door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he really messed
Now,
up.
now I'm
the-
expecting Val to just attack Checkers because obviously something has taken over Checkers or is pretending to be Checkers.
And the door cracks open. And what you see is not the usual Checkers. You
Turbo Checkers.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was that's the phrase my brain came up with.
Yeah.
Now I want Checkers to have a race car.
Yeah, right. Great.
Check out my
It's
flame
not-
decals, Val.
Yeah,
It's not
please.
me.
Yeah.
I'm not Checkers.
Please tell
I'm
me it's
Turbo
Violet.
Checkers.
Yeah.
Please tell me it's Violet.
It's charity.
No.
Charity.
It's
Yes,
not charity
charity.
this time. So when Checkers walks in, you notice a couple things. One, he is holding his hands behind his back as though he is holding something.
Mm-hmm.
Two, in addition to his usual clothes, he is wearing a small apron with a little cute frog print on it.
Oh.
And three, the smell of baked goods becomes immediately apparent. And as Checkers enters the room, he says, Val, I know you've had a pretty rough few days, and, well, I know quarantine wasn't the best for anyone after the vinegar geyser and Tarathan and I playing hide and seek. But I wanted to let you know that I've been thinking about you, and I wanted you to have something. And as Checkers walks to the desk,
Mm-hmm.
he continues with, when we were in the library, Titania shared this really cool recipe with me. He called it book milk.
Book milk.
And Checkers takes the tray out from behind his back and slides it on the top of the desk towards you.
Mm-hmm.
And what you see is a nice warm glass of milk and a plate of cookies.
Mm-hmm.
But upon closer examination, the milk looks like there's something in it. Like it's like warm wood pulp
Yeah, it's
almost.
like pulpy.
Yeah, it's pulpy, as though someone has juiced a book.
As if.
And the cookies, they look pretty good, like normal cookies, but they have these little shreds of paper inside them. I call these bookies.
Bookies. Bookies. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know you've been under a lot of stress lately, so I wanted to make these for you.
Val, there's too many emotions happening, and she's already cranky, so she's
Yeah.
just like tearing up at all of them, trying to experience everything at once. And she's just like, I really appreciate this, Checkers. Thank you so much for thinking of me. I can't tell you how much this has surprised and delighted me. And I'm going to end it surprised and delighted.
And you see Checkers looking at you expectantly, waiting for you to try one.
Val does it. She
Tries
Go-
which?
both. She's
How? More
She's-
detail.
Yeah.
Val will,
Tell me
I
more.
need to know.
Val will pick up a bookie
Mm-hmm.
and dip it in book milk
Go on.
and eat it.
Mm-hmm.
And Checkers looks just so happy.
And she swallows before she can taste it.
yeah, because that's
She
how good
swallows the cookie before she can taste it.
it is. Yeah.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it, Val.
Thank you again, Checkers. I I feel really loved right now. And Val will give Checkers a hug.
Oh.
Val finds Taroth and gives him the bookies in the book mouth.
I was gonna say, like, the paper of the bookie gets caught in your throat, but there's nothing to wash it down with besides the book milk.
And then you give it to Taroth, and he says, "Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I will look forward to eating these myself. Yes, thank you." And he just kind of like lecherously bows out the room, like his butt leading him forward, and just like facing you. And after about 2 seconds, as he walks down the hall, you hear Taroth yell out, "Cascarin, Master Dwarf."
Oh, did you make milk and cookies for me? Taroth, you shouldn't have. You're so kind.
No. Mistress Carter gave them to me.
Cascarin, no!
And Taroth never lies. Canonically.
I mean,
No, Val literally yells, no!
Val, as you charge into the hallway, trying to stop whatever's about to happen, you actually run straight into Burga, who is out there, who is not glaring at Taroth in the way you would expect her to be glaring at her familiar at this juncture, because you see just beyond her, she is leading Namgar and a couple members of the Red Guard. Namgar's like, hey, Val, quick question. I'm sorry. It seems like maybe we're interrupting something. Have you seen Checkers?
He was just here in the map room a minute ago.
Nom! Val made us cookies. Do you want to try one?
No.
Um,
Checkers made the cookies and the milk.
Well, it's very generous of you for whoever made it. And normally I want to say this because I want cookies. And in future days, I hope you invite me to eat cookies with you, no matter what is about to be said or what's maybe hopefully gonna happen in a good way.
Is something the matter, Nom?
Well, yes. Is Checkers up there?
Val just yells, Checkers!
Yeah, Val, what's up? It's a package for you.
It's wrapped in armor.
I want to thank you again for the cookies.
Oh, wow, that's great. And like Checkers comes down with his cute little frog apron. Hey, Nom, what's up?
Checkers, hi. I hope you are well. There's no easy way to say this, but you are under arrest. And that is where we'll end this week's episode, everybody. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Checkers!
What did you do? What haven't I done?
But Self kind of like drops the his towel or whatever he was using, and
Makes it seem like you're fighting him nude.
Yeah, right. Yeah, begins to take off his gi.
We're not a prude podcast,
No.
so
well, but he was drying off afterwards. But
yeah, sure,
yeah,
yeah,
right.
and
That doesn't-
then his nude.
doesn't
Yeah,
help.
obviously.
Self fully clothed in his
Yeah.
gi.
Okay, got it.
But Steve,
drops-
what's he wearing?
Drops
Drops the trowel.
Turns around,
Right.
moons him.
Yes, and then takes off running. No,